Okay, welcome back to part two of the Up Zone, where understanding politics is made simple. I think that we have resolved that little humming sound so we can have the rest of this conversation, and y'all should not hear that sound in the background. Mr. Floyd, thank you for bringing Latanya on with us today. I think that it was very important for people to be able to see how these campaign finance reports are structured and what the relevance is, their relevance is, and why people should be interested in what's on those campaign finance reports. Certainly, if our candidates are paying attention, they should be well aware of the fact that this is way more important than some may let on.
Well, Tish, while you were campaigning during this 100-day period, you also got to raise money. Okay, you got to attend meetings. You got
Hmm.
to purchase your sign, and a lot of the advertisement is already taken. Because of those persons who have already pre-planned. And then
Hmm.
there's a market, the different market, different radio station has different costs for a 30
Hmm.
second, 1 minute, or whatever that you have. And a lot of your sign companies, because it's a statewide race, they're already somewhat loaded up, with campaign sign. And when you buy a campaign sign, you talk about uh, just a little piece of metal, depends on the kind you talk about. It's about 195 to 250. Then the sign is so every sign is about $5. So you buy
Hmm.
500 signs, you look at what it is. Then if you buy a letterhead to send out your campaign report, then you got to buy stamps, and I think it's 68 cents, per letter. And if you mail out 500 letters, teacher, let me say, if you get 25% return, you
Hmm.
do
Right.
500 letters now. If you get 25%
Hmm.
return, and it's unfortunate that an African American candidate is not going to raise as much money as a white candidate.
I
Now,
think that's because our community does not understand the value of writing a check to a political candidate. I think that we've never really had those conversations. Now, if you come from a more politically affluent family, and they are more tied into the listen, I'm gonna just say it like it is. If they're more tied into the benefits of being a benefactor of a relationship with somebody in the political arena, they most certainly understand the value of writing a check. But I think that the people who are just kind of like the everyday folks who are just out here living life and may go and vote, but don't really understand the nuances of politics. They don't understand the value of even writing a $25 check to a political candidate. Because I'm gonna tell you, Floyd, when you're running for office, every dollar helps.
it does. And then again, too, those that have access to that money send you all these glossy photos, campaign brochures
Hmm.
that look very impressive. And
Absolutely.
you go and you buy into that, but the candidate is not Amazon.
Right. They can't deliver. They
They can't
cannot
do that.
deliver. So I think
And
it's important. I think even, and I'm looking forward to digging into these campaign finance reports, but I think it's so important that as the House and Senate, the people who want to run file for election and I know you said that District 2 for the county commissioners will be on the ballot. As these candidates file, it's important, like Latanya said, know who's backing who, because when you know who's backing who, you know how the pieces of the puzzle connect, and that is just very important. Now, Mr. Floyd, you mentioned downtown parking. You have been consistent for the 3 years that we've done this podcast, 2 or 3 years, about this downtown parking. Let's talk about it. What you want to tell me today?
well, there's a lot, and I'm glad that one council member looked at revisiting the downtown parking. And I'd love to read.
Give them some credit. Who said that?
What's the gentleman name? He was on
Dino Hondros.
the council person. Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, now let's just look at it. I love it when we compare ourselves to Charlotte and we compare ourselves to Raleigh. We compare ourselves to Durham. We don't have the same downtown. Okay, we don't have tall buildings where people live downtown in Raleigh, Charlotte, in those places. So, you know, it's different. Our workforce is sort of like from 8 to 5, but
Right.
you have parking to 7 o'clock. It's
Right.
prohibited parking, and so in our community, if that person wants to go downtown after he or she gets off work and say, "I'll meet you, Tish. We have a beer together." Well, at 7 o'clock, I'm not going home and coming back to have a beer with you. Let's be realistic, you
Hmm.
know. And then again, I got to get my computer and I got to find out whether or not there's an event downtown that can tell me where I can park it. Now,
Right.
this started, Tish, with the baseball. The baseball played 162 games. 81 of those games are played in Fayetteville.
Hmm.
And we penalize the community for the other 200 plus days that they can't park downtown. You
But
know,
Mr. Floyd, this is the thing, and I hope that Dino knows this moving forward. Paid parking is a part of the repayment structure for the parking deck.
that's no problem. Teach, it won't be $41 million. You should thought about that before you build it, Teach. It was $41 million and you forgot to put an elevator. You was on the council
Where
at
is
that time.
where is
You didn't
Jordan
park.
Jones? Where is Jordan Jones? Is he still in our community?
No, I don't think. I think he's still somewhat by Durham. But
But is
you
he
were the
still this was all tied in to baseball stadium, Prince Charles parking deck. They were all tied in together.
what
Where's
teach
Jordan Jones?
what teach now. When you built that parking deck, you gave the baseball team X number of par.
And
You gave St.
then we gave
Charles
the Prince Charles X number
X
of parts,
number of par.
which to me
Yeah.
was ridiculous, and I did argue.
But you was on the council then. I mean, then you
And
give
this was
us.
my thing. My thing
That's
was instead of paid parking, we can really just charge more for the spaces that we're leasing out to people on a regular basis because the lease rate is very low. But wait a minute, we mentioned an interesting word, and I want to harp on this
Mhm.
word for a moment. We mentioned the word parking deck.
Mhm.
It's my
Well,
understanding we have another parking deck coming to downtown.
the county said because they built the civic, the convention center on Gillespie Street. Now they're gonna go behind the courthouse and build 1,100 parking deck, which is going to be 6 stories, which is going to cost 31 million on top of the 130 million dollars for the facility. But teach there's two more pieces of property that I think those two law offices is going to give the county. And remind what I said now. Two law offices that's there that the county need in order to complete the project.
Hmm.
They just gonna say, here, county, you can have these two pieces of land.
I bet you
Two
they
attorney
don't.
offices.
I bet you
Huh?
they looking for a
I'm
check.
just saying, well, you're gonna have to buy it. And the show won't be no $250,000.
Right, right,
Okay. But now
right.
here I mean, but sometimes we have to look at jump starting economic development. But
Hmm.
it's hurting our downtown parking because I went to an event and I don't know what I parked on that street and I said, well, I'm in a safety zone. Well, when I get back, the whole street got a ticket, you know, and that was I think it was uh, Franklin Street.
Hmm.
Everybody on Franklin Street had a ticket.
Hmm.
Okay, I mean,
And Franklin Street is off the beaten path,
yeah,
right on Hay Street. Yeah,
but the guy was doing his job,
right,
Again, as we said to you, I just didn't read it. I mean, I jumped out my car, went up to the event. I just thought I was in the safety zone. But
right.
see, but I know now going forward, I'm not coming to any of your activities unless it's after 7 o'clock. because I
Well,
can't make any kind of
I tend to not frequent downtown anymore. And I'll tell you, but I didn't frequent downtown before I was an elected official. So, and even as an elected official, I didn't frequent downtown. But I just tend to not frequent downtown. And I'll tell you this, when I do go downtown, and this is what I said when I was on council. Rideshare has changed the dynamics of how people get around. It has changed the dynamics of how people attend events. The reality is, a lot of people, when they go to events, they like to turn up a little bit. They want to drink. And because there's been such a concerted effort to keep people from drinking and driving, many people use rideshare. So, in my estimation, what would have been a good solution for some of these situations is to create some share opportunities throughout our city so that as people are trying to move around to these events, they're able to catch an Uber or a Lyft. They're able to get, there's a lane for Uber and Lyft drop off or Uber and Lyft pickup. Because then you're creating revenue for the people who are driving. You're helping, strengthen a business structure. And you're also eliminating the need to keep building these bulky parking towers that aren't really serving anybody.
Well, teacher, if you look at the parking deck, if you look at parking itself, I don't believe yet you have a what you call these machines that bring down the boxes and whatnot in these
Mm-hmm.
warehouses, robot. Okay, I believe that everyone that serves you is a human being downtown, and
Mm-hmm.
those persons are not making the kind of wages, that the living wages. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yet still you're gonna have to pay this money to come downtown and work for the wages that you're receiving and then pay for parking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can look at after 5 o'clock downtown, City Hall closing, the county building closing,
Mm-hmm.
everything around there. But you want to do parking until 7. That had to look at to to change. That should be to 5. When people get
Mm-hmm.
off work, they can stop and have dinner together or whatever. You're not in Charlotte. You don't
Right.
have a metro. Okay,
Right.
you don't have that. So
Right.
I just wish that he is successful to get them to amend the parking ordinance so it can help the employees, can help the businesses, and also to help a poor little person like me who like to stop downtown that don't want to pay $10 to park.
I understand. I do understand. Mr. Floyd, one of the other things, and it's a little bit of a jump from one topic to the other, but I want us to make this jump because it's so important. Let's talk about traffic stops and crime in Fayetteville, because I know that we received the report from the chief of police about, the update for the public safety report. And one of the things that you mentioned is that traffic stops as it relates to Black residents versus non-Black residents in the city of Fayetteville. I know you said that there was only one person of color who raised any objection to the number of stops that was being made, and that person is Mario Benavente. I did have to correct you because you called him Black, and I had to let you know he is not Black, but he is colorful. So we
Well,
own him as a minority.
speech by minority. Okay,
Right, right.
that, but at least he did raise some questions as it relates to the traffic stops, and he did it in the past. But we have minority representatives on the city council. That this ought to be a concern, both traffic stops and the number of African Americans that are shooting each other.
See, and that's what
So,
I was going to say. I think that we have a different concern today than we did. Was it Chief Medlock where they did all of the driving while black? I think we have a different concern today. And I think that that concern has been a concern for a long time. But I think that we in the Black community don't address it. And I don't know if it's that we're not addressing it publicly or if it's that we're just not addressing it at all. But we need to look in our community and we need to understand what the breakdown is within our community that is affecting our population in the way whereby when we see shootings happen, it is us against us. And I think that at some point we're going to have to be very, and I'll say this, Mr. Floyd, because I don't see any other demographic tear themselves down as publicly as black people. So I will say this, maybe it is that in our homes and in our community meetings and when we are getting together at church, maybe we need to be having these conversations in those ways, because I'm not saying that this needs to be something that needs to be discussed at city hall on that platform, but I do think that every one of those black members of our city council, even the white members of our city council, and every one of the non black or white members, every member of our city council needs to be actively engaged in the conversation to find out what is going on. What is the discrepancy or disparity? What is the issue? What's the stronghold that is taking place with the black community that is causing this issue? And I think we need to be very real and very direct. And I tell you, Floyd, I believe that the biggest purveyor of crime is the breakdown of the family. I really believe
That's
crime,
that's true, Tish. I mean,
and not just black crime,
but
but
I don't
crime,
want,
period.
but I, you know, I have been in studies since Genesis.
Yeah, I don't think we need,
Okay,
I
we
think
need
we need real
to think about
conversation.
some action. We
Yeah.
need, just like you said, we have a buyback gun control. To buy back guns. Okay, we need to have a program that's going to address the issue. I mean, you have a manager, you have a council that the council can direct or part of their goals.
Mr. Floyd, what kind of
Long
program do you create though? That, like, I don't think that's programmatic.
What I'm saying is that by virtue, this is the thought that we have a number of African Americans with that a higher number. Then we also have the number of homicides. Okay. Now all of this fall within the realm of the day-to-day operation of the city manager. So let's have this discussion with staff, which is the chief, which is the police department. How can we bring about this change? Take this change into the community, and then vice versa. The community and all and the police department or whoever, sure, don't make it highway patrol, all sit down and see how can we address these changes. We just had an incident the other day on Thanksgiving Day where African American was fatally shot by a police officer, and so you know that
But
was
Mr.
in.
Floyd, that's one. And like when we look at the murder rate of it, let's deal specifically with Fayetteville. We've had what, like two or three um officer shooting fatalities this year. All of the other fatalities were just regular citizens against
I
regular
agree with
citizens.
you. That's why I'm saying we need to just have have a, not a meeting.
I think
I'm,
people just
I'm,
need to get their houses back in order. I think that we need, and I'm gonna tell you something, Floyd, and I know non-popular opinion, but I'm gonna say this. And I don't really care who get mad. But I believe that the exclusion of a baseline of righteousness, and I'm gonna say it like that because I think, I was listening to somebody talking, they were talking about how devout Muslims are and how, devout some of these other religions are. We got a anything goes. We really have a generation of anything goes. And that's been for about two or three generations since about the 70s. Anything goes, right? If anything goes, anything goes. And everything happens when anything goes. Some reality checks. We need to start being real about stuff and stop living in this world of it's how you feel or it's what you think or it's whatever you want, because that is proliferating chaos. And so if we want to talk about programs, Floyd, I think we need programs that make people address truth, because as long as you live in a world of fantasy and fiction, you have chaos.
which is no one, you know, and I hear all the time is that we need to have the male in the house. Yes,
Yes.
we okay, but it, when I watch sports, when I watch sports, and I'm a male teach. I mean, and the first thing that athletes say, "Hi, mom." Okay,
Yeah.
that means that mom is just as can do just as good as that male
No,
in the house.
sir.
So we blame.
No, sir. That
Now,
means that
now,
that's the exception to the rule. And that boy is that saying hi, mom. He had coaches along the way that were male influences for him, and
I'm
he's
not down
high.
to teach, but what I'm saying, Tish, you know, we don't give the female who is head of the household the recognition that she needs. That she is a strong leader. Okay.
But that's the problem. That's the problem, Mr. Floyd. There's this ideology that women are supposed that's
Now
wrong.
we talk
There's
about
no
family.
order in that.
If that's what's in the household, the mother, absent of the father, don't criticize the mother.
She
You
gonna
know,
do the best she can. That's not a
and they
criticism.
do a good job,
But
and
that's
they
not I was a single mother, Mr. Floyd. It's not a criticism to say she can't do this by herself. She shouldn't be asked to do this by
you didn't
herself.
bring them in by you didn't bring them
You
in
did
by
not.
yourself.
You did not.
Okay.
And just because you can do a good job with these children does not mean that you can effectively ensure that your family unit is in place. It takes a mama and a daddy to create
Nobody is
stability for
down
their
that,
family.
T. T. Nobody is down there, but you got to take what you have and make what you want. Okay. And I'm saying that yes, you do. But if that's what you have, then you got to make it the best that you can have.
But
And
Floyd,
I
that
say,
only works when you have men like you who step alongside these women and support them while they do that. And it doesn't have to be your man. Like, listen, let me say this. When I was a single mom for a long time, as a single mother, I had people, and I'm gonna give kudos to these kind of people. Like my I had a person at my church. They were a married couple. Her husband helped me show my daughters what a strong man looked like. He was a male presence for my daughters. She she didn't share him with me in the capacity of this my husband, he yours too, but he shared his masculinity with women in under his care as a leader in the church to make sure that their children had access to that. These coaches that are being that for these young men, they're doing that. Male teachers, we need men in the classrooms, and I'm talking about heterosexual Black men in the classrooms to be that presence for these young boys. Because,
T,
yes, single mothers are going to be there, but they need help
amen,
from
T.
these men.
We're not down that, T. I'm saying to you, yes, but you got
Yes.
to take what you have.
And make what you need. I
Okay.
get that.
Nobody,
I get
no,
that.
nobody is down there. But unfortunately, you know, that's what we have. But you can't blame it on one segment without looking at the other segment.
I
And,
was
and,
just talking to my girlfriend about that. I never faulted my ex-husband for me being a single mother because I chose him. And I think if most women, yeah, if most women would be real with themselves, you chose that situation. So your singleness is just as much your fault and your responsibility as it is his. There's no blame to be placed, but we all need to accept responsibility.
that's all that I'm saying to you. And
Yeah.
I have a next door neighbor that which is two young ladies. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they reared this young person. Now he is at North Carolina State. Now
Mm-hmm.
I did like you said, your pastor. I mean, the person at your church.
Yeah.
When he got off the bus, he knew that I was out there in the
He
yard.
saw you.
His mother knew that he couldn't stop nowhere until he got home because Floyd was gonna send him home. And, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
didn't send him down the street to chase behind those young ladies.
Yeah.
He went straight home
Yep.
because
And
he knew
he knew if he came around you looking like weed or smelling like alcohol or pants sagging, he knew you were gonna say something to
that
him.
is correct. That is
Yeah.
correct. And I made no bone about that. I told his mother, I told his grandmother, and you know what, Fancy? Today we're still friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And he
and
like
Mr.
he
Floyd, and
told me
those are the people when you say they be like, "Hey mom," those are the ones because but they still had a man who took an interest in them. A lot of these boys and girls, these girls so hoish, Mr. Floyd, and I know that's probably an ugly word, but it's the truth. They out here throwing it every which way, and they're so masculine now because there's this ideology that they have to be. I think that feminism ruined our community. It ruined us because we didn't need that. Our men respect, and I mean, when I say us, I mean black folk. Our men respect community. It was white women who were battling for watch. This is how I figured this out. I was watching old programming. I was watching I Love Lucy. I was watching the the Jeffersons. I was watching all of these programmings and I recognized Mr. Floyd in old Caucasian programming. The men used to subjugate their wives. They treated them like children. Okay. And programming is reflective of the culture and time, if we're being honest. But in the black programming, they were on equal footing. Wheezy was on the same plateau as George in their household. But Lucy was subjugated to a position of like almost secondary citizenship to Ricky. They were fighting for equality in their homes. We jumped on that bandwagon and jacked our households up because our husbands weren't treating us that way. We didn't have that. So now here we are fighting with our men for something that we already had, and we putting our men in positions of like infancy, and we trying to sun them and treating them like less than, and we have destroyed our family unit trying to fight for something somebody else wanted.
Well, Tish, I'm gonna still say you just gotta take what you got and make what you want. And I'm proud to be an African American male, reared by a mother and a with an eighth grade education, and a father with a third grade education. Made 50 cents an hour. Made 50 cents an hour. That my father with a third grade education said, "I want one of these seven kids to go to college." Okay, third grade education.
Yeah.
Mother with an eighth grade education. So, but yet still, those individuals will go to my father and my mother and say, "Why did Floyd go in service? He gonna get kicked out."
He going to
Now,
college.
yeah. Now, then they come back and say, "Well, why is he in college? What business of it today is why I'm in college?" Okay, but this with a small mind, a small education, had a vision.
Yeah.
They never would have thought that I would serve 12 years in the General Assembly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would be the one that would be fighting for them
Yeah.
and their well-being. So I'm saying you gotta take what you want, you
And
know,
make it what you need it to be.
and make it what you need. If that's the problem with our community. We always want a handout. Okay, we want somebody. If somebody is giving you something, Tish, they are controlling you
They have,
because
Mr. Floyd, that's it. That's it. That's it. Say that again. If somebody is giving you something,
they are controlling you because you are living from paycheck to paycheck, and you don't have time to think about nothing in between.
so let me go
Okay.
back to what we were talking about crime, and then I'll leave this alone for today. When the welfare system was implemented, the structure of the welfare system, the family unit, because it said you can't get this handout. You just said if I'm giving you something, I'm controlling you. You
Yes.
can't get this handout as long as he's in the house. And so now, and no matter what color he was or what color you were, if you're poor, you can't get our help if he's there. So now you get rid of him and now you become vulnerable because it's you and these children and you getting this from them, but what they're giving you is not nearly enough
It's
in order to
it's nowhere
sustain
near. It's no
at
it's
all.
it's no and then again, I remember, and I'm gonna move on to. I was in a city that had 27 buildings. But I'm gonna say, I'm gonna narrow it down. They had 15 high-rise buildings
Hmm.
that were public housing. And what
Projects.
do you see infested in those buildings?
Hmm.
I mean, that whole 1 mile radius it's going to be crime infested.
Yes.
But
Yes.
anyway, I know you think you didn't get
But
me
those are,
upset.
Mr. Floyd, those are the conversations. If there's a conversation to be had about crime in the Black community or crime in poor communities, period, because it is poor people who are the purveyors of the most crime, violent crime, because rich people commit rich people crime. And that's what they go into jail for.
I'm gonna tell you what, as we close,
Yes.
there was, and please forgive, you was on the council then when
Hmm.
Branson Street was a drug infested area.
Okay.
Okay, and now with the changing of the landscape, we have reduced the number of police officers that
Have to
in this
respond.
area. Okay, because the housing market changed. If you
Yeah.
understand what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. And look, that's the gritty in the city and the word on the curve. But Mr. Floyd, they won't. Look, it's always a pleasure to have these conversations. What you want to leave our audience with today?
Go out and think about. Oh yeah, try not to get an absentee ballot because 14% of those are returned. And that meant that you lost your vote. Go and vote in person and vote for the candidate that is employed by Amazon, Federal Express. Okay. Those two, they sort of get the package there on time.
Hmm.
But if you look at the US postal system, they're a little bit slow.
Right,
Get
right,
vote for someone who is going to deliver.
right.
And
Absolutely.
and indicated that he or she is willing to work to bring back products, and which means economic development, to our community, not someone who has flowery words.
Absolutely. And my parting words, I just want to say you can support people in their struggle without bringing their struggle into your realm. And so I think that we just need to learn how to do that. Let's learn how to support people in their struggle. And you can read that audience however you want to read it, but without bringing their struggle into our atmosphere. I think at the end of the day, like I always tell y'all, I love y'all. God is love. Jesus loves you. He loved you so much. He gave his life up for you. Accept him so that you may be have salvation evermore. Or not, that's your business and you can do what you want to do. But Mr. Floyd, I always appreciate when we are able to have dialogue. Thank you for letting me sit at this table with you. I appreciate you.
No, 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 no. It is in the reverse. My days, my days are numbered, so I just wanted to pave the way for those that are going to come after myself with a much brighter mind, and not to let people, as Doodle said, razzle and dazzle.
That's right. That's right. Well, we will catch y'all next week, and y'all have a fantastic day. That's the gritty in the city and the word on the curb. Y'all do what you do.